Hey there, it's been a while since I've done an art haul video, so I thought I would share with you a couple of the things that I have purchased recently. I got a couple of things on the Amazon Prime Day deals, and then a couple of things I purchased for myself while I was away on work. And I just kind of wanted to share some of the things that I got with you and, maybe show a little bit about how they work. So you saw me putting this stuff down. The first thing is these little wooden discs. I'm planning on making some cute little ornaments with these, painting these. These are like 2 inches, so they're pretty small. They're a little smaller than I thought they would be, but I think they'll make really cute little decorations, and they came with ribbon, which is really nice. So got them on Amazon, like I said, pretty cheap. The next things, I got a couple of things on Amazon as well. I got this black and white set of mat board. I've got a couple of pictures that I want to mat, and I happen to have a mat cutter that I got while I was in high school, and I haven't really used it a whole lot, so I wanted to get some rather inexpensive mat boards so that I could practice with that and mat my own photos and mat my own artwork, rather than going and buying either pre-made mats or having it matted, because that's really expensive. So that's what these are for. So you'll probably see me doing some of that in the not too distant future. And the last couple of things I got were a little bit of splurge items for myself. I bought myself a set of the Blackwing Pearl pencils. I have been wanting these for a while. I've seen a whole lot of YouTubers using them and talking about them and saying they were pretty good. So I've been wanting to buy them for myself for a while, and I've had them on my wish list for a while, and nobody bought them for me, I'm sure because they saw them and thought, pencils? Really? I'm gonna buy used pencils? So I bought them for myself. They are expensive though. The set of 12 in this box was like $27, so that's more than $2 a pencil, but I decided to go ahead and splurge on myself. The next thing I bought was a set of the Legion little pads of paper. These are all Stonehenge paper. This first one is the Stonehenge white, and it says that it's really good for colored pencil, and I've played with it a little bit, and you can see here it does a pretty good job with colored pencil. I did some ink down here. There's definitely a little bit of a texture to it, so that it picks up the pencil really nice. To feel it with your finger, you don't really feel a lot of the texture, but the colored pencil certainly shows through. And then the next two that I got were the Stonehenge Aqua Cold Press and the Stonehenge Aqua Cold Press Heavy. And I really like these tiny little pads of paper. Number one, just because it's kind of fun to work small. But number two, it's a nice, rather inexpensive way to try out paper. Rather than buying an entire big pad of it, you can just buy like a tiny little pad, and these were like $2.50 or something like that to buy. And the paper works pretty well. I did some tests on here, and I will show those tests a little bit later. Just kind of using watercolor. This was a really wet mix, and then this again wet, and then I lifted off, and you can see that there's not really any warping happening to the page here, so it did a pretty good job of holding up to a lot of water. Granted, it's a really little piece of paper, so I'm not really sure how much warping you would get on a really small piece of paper. And then the same thing with the heavy. I did the same sort of tests with those as well. With the heavy, you can see like this is some thick paper, and the other stuff is nice and thick, but not nearly as thick as the heavy. It looks like the regular cold press paper has 10 sheets, and this has far fewer. I can't really count them right now. 1, 2, 3. Looks like 6 sheets. So you get like 6 sheets in here of the heavy, and like 10 of this. Of this one, and then I think there's 15 sheets of just the regular Stonehenge white. The last thing I purchased for myself was the Signo white gel pen. I have seen a lot of artists use the jelly roll as well as the Signo, and a lot of people really like the Signo a lot better. And I have to say, the Signo is better. I did a quick test on just some black paper here, and you can see that the Signo, which is on the top here, is much whiter, and it was a much juicier pen than a jelly roll. So definitely, if you're looking for a white gel pen type thing for putting highlights in your photos, I would recommend the Uniball Signo. This one is the broad tip, so it's a little bit chunkier of a tip. I also recommend like paint markers. I've used the Arteza paint marker before, and that worked really well for putting white highlights on. I'm sure that probably leaves a little bit different like shine than this does. I haven't actually looked at that too closely, but yeah, I was very impressed with this. Okay, so I've got the Signo, Uniball Signo, and I've got just this black paper here. This is the Legion cold press black, and I'm just gonna go ahead and give it a try here and see how well it works. Oh wow, that is nice. That is really nice. There we go. Yeah, so you can see it left a really nice white mark on there. But yeah, let me go get jelly roll and we can see in comparison. It does mark on there, but you can see that the Signo is certainly much whiter than the jelly roll. It is definitely juicier on it. Just use this receipt. So we will start with the jelly roll on the bottom here and just kind of do some scribbles on there. And then we will do the Signo up here. So again, this is the jelly roll, and you can see through a little bit, and there's the Signo, and it is definitely whiter. You cannot see the black through it nearly as much. So yeah, I'm really happy with the Signo. The jelly roll is fine, but the Signo is just much juicier, and I think I'm going to be really happy with that purchase. Next, I decided to play with the Stonehenge Aqua Cold Press, again off camera, just to save you the pain of watching me play in here a little bit. I've got a couple of water brushes that have either ink or watercolor in them. I got them so long ago, I don't remember what's in there, but I just kind of played with that. And this, I did a wet on wet technique, so I wet the paper pretty heavily and then dropped some color on it. And then down here, I was trying out some lifting and then some dry brush techniques. You can see that it lifted pretty well, but there was some interesting staining of the paper. This is definitely not any kind of pilling of the paper. I scrubbed it pretty heavily, and I didn't have any issue with the paper pilling up. It just kind of soaked into the paper in an interesting way, and I don't know if that had to do with the ink or the watercolor that was in there. And then I was trying to show a little bit of the texture of the paper, which I think you can see a little bit in the dry brush, as well as just kind of in the shadows on the paper. I did the same set of things on the Stonehenge Aqua Cold Press Heavy, again with those same pens, and you can see that it worked pretty well here. Again, this is a nice wet on wet technique, and I was trying to lift the color off, and you can again see that like interesting way that the color soaked into the paper. I don't know if this has to do with the cotton paper or the ink or watercolor that I used on it. You can see here that this is a really, really thick paper, and there was basically no warping of it. And this was a little bit thinner paper, but still, you know, quite sturdy, and only minimal warping. Again, you know, it's a very small piece of paper, so I'm not sure how much those will actually warp, but overall, pretty impressed with those papers as well. So off camera, I played with the Stonehenge white a little bit. I grabbed some colored pencils and some pens and just tried a couple of different things on there. So I just wanted to show you really nice and close. You can see the texture of the paper through the pencil, which is very common with colored pencil. And then I did a little bit of burnishing here with one of my colored pencils. So you can definitely get rid of that texture. There's not like a whole lot of texture that you can feel, but you can definitely see it. And then I tried blending some colored pencils, and those blended very beautifully. Granted, I think these were my Prismacolor pencils, so they are known for blending well. And then just tried a couple of different brands of pencils out. This was a pretty cheap brand. This is a metallic, just some random stuff. And then down here, I tried out a couple of my pens, and this was my Tombow Fudenosuke pen. It is drying out a little bit, so you can see the texture of the paper a little bit through there. I think if it were nice and fresh, it would not have an issue. And then this was fine liners that I have. They are this black liner. They are the Pacific Arc black liners. Lastly, I decided to try out the Blackwing Pearl pencil, and I grabbed the pencil and made some nice light marks as well as a nice dark mark here, and then I was comparing it to other drawing pencils that I have. I had an HB, a 4B, a 6B, sorry, try that again, an 8B, a 4B, a 6B, an HB, and a 3B pencil. I was trying to figure out like which one it looks the most like, and to my eye it looks like it's about a 4B, and it works really nicely. The one thing I really like about it is it just feels really buttery, so I really like how it feels as you're writing with it. It just feels really nice. It kind of feels like a Prismacolor pencil, and you can see that the eraser does a pretty good job. The 8B here left a little bit of a mark, but yeah, it erases pretty well. And my understanding is that you can actually pull this eraser out. It actually kind of comes down to about here in the ferrule, so you get a long life on the eraser. So I hope you enjoyed this little art haul, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.